What's up YouTube, Team709 here on the YouTube channel page for this week's Deck Doctor segment. This week we'll be covering Celticsfan317's Fire Fist Hand Traptrix deck. Before we do this though, if you guys have a deck that you want fixed, be sure to message it here on the YouTube channel by going to our channel page, going to the About section and clicking Send Message. I feel like reiterating this every so often just because the YouTube changed its messaging system up a bit, and the only way that I know of that you can send messages to people is through doing that. So yeah. You can either type it up like Monster Spells, Traps, Extra Deck, or you can do a YDK file. If you have like Dropbox, you can upload it there and then send the link to that Dropbox link to us, and we can download it and do things that way. So yeah. So looking at our Celticsfan317's build, for the most part, it's pretty standard. It's kind of solid. There's only going to be a few card changes, so this should be a rather fast deck doctor rather than my normal 15-minute one where we explain 10 different card choices. So yeah. So starting off with the monsters, we have one Dianea, one Wolfbark, 3 Bear, 3 Traptrix Myrmelio, 3 Fire Hand, 3 Ice Hand. Spells, we have one Dark Hole, 1 Soul Charge, 2 Pot of Duality, 1 Pot of Dichotomy, 2 Mystical Space Typhoons, 1 Book of Moon, 3 Fire Formation Tenki. Traps, we have 1 Bottomless, 1 Traptrix Trap-Hole Nightmare, 1 Needle Ceiling, 1 Mirror Force, 1 Torrential Tribute, 2 Dimensional Prison, 2 Breakthrough Skill, 1 Compulsory Evacuation Device, 1 Fiendish Chain, 1 Call the Haunted, 2 Wiretap, and 1 Solemn Warning. Extra deck, we have 1 Karen Gorgon Anti-Luminescent Knight, 1 number 103 Ragnar Zero, 1 Brother of the Fire Fist Tiger King, 1 number 50 Black Ship of Corn, 1 number 101 Silent Honor Arc, 1 number 82 Heartland Draco, 1 Castel the Sky Blaster Musketeer, 1 Diamond Dire Wolf, 1 Steelswarm Roach, 1 Evil Swarm Excitant Knight, 1 Brother of the Fire Fist Cardinal, 1 Dagusto Emerald, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Gaga Cowboy, and 1 number 80 Rhapsody and Berserk. So like I said, pretty solid build for the most part. There's only going to be 5 or so cards that we change in the main deck, and then there's only I think 1 card in the extra deck. So yeah, let's just get into the fixed build, and we'll go over it, and then we'll go over the changes, explain whatever, and then we'll be pretty much done for the day. So starting off with the monsters, we have 1 Dianea, 1 Wolfbark, 3 Bear, 3 Myrmelio, 3 Fire Hand, 3 Ice Hand. Spells, we have 1 Dark Hole, 2 Soul Charge, 2 Pot of Duality, 1 Dichotomy, 1 Book of Moon, 2 Forbidden Chalice, 3 Fire Formation Tenki. Traps, we have 2 Time Space Trap Hole, 1 Bottomless Trap Hole, 1 Torrential Tribute, 1 Dimensional Prison, 2 Dimensional Prisons, my bad. 2 Breakthrough Skills, 1 Compulsory Evacuation Device, 2 Call the Haunted, 2 Wiretap, and 1 Solemn Warning. Extra deck, we have 1 Karen Gorgon, 1 Ragnar Zero, 1 Tiger King, 1 Black Ship of Corn, 1 Silent Honor Arc, 1 Heartland Draco, 1 Castel, 1 Diamond Dire Wolf, 1 Excitant Knight, 1 Cardinal, 1 Evolve Chain, 1 Dagusto Emerald, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Gaga Cowboy, and 1 number 80 Rhapsody and Berserk. So things that we dropped from the main deck, we dropped the 2 MSTs, the Fiendish Chain, the Needle Ceiling, the Mirror Force, and the Traptrix Trap-Hole Nightmare. I recommend kind of making room in your side deck for the MSTs and the Needle Ceiling. I'm assuming you already had, you were doing the 1 main deck, Needle Ceiling, 1 side deck. I'm just going off of assumption there because I don't think you gave me the side deck. Not that I ever really edit people's side decks, I'm just making suggestions here, at least when it comes to these 3 cards. And you might be citing that 3rd MST too, so I'm not entirely sure. If you have the room for it, I would definitely try to make room for the 2 MSTs and the Needle Ceiling that we dropped, because obviously they're still good cards. It's just that there were cards that I found to play better, at least when it comes to me. So I mean, yeah. And from the extra deck, we dropped the Steelswarm Roach. As for the main deck, the first thing that we definitely added multiple copies of even is Forbidden Chalice. I don't know if I really need to explain this card too much. Shadalls are now kind of out in a thing. Not to mention that you can just use it in response to other things. It's just a really good card. You can use it on your turn in response to things like Mortal Attack or Beagle Attack if they're playing, if Hat players are playing Beagle Attack. And anything that basically plays the artifacts, like the artifact engine, whether it just be 2 Mortal Attack, 3 Sanctum, or stuff like that. You can still use the Chalice to negate the Mortal Attack on your turn. So, I mean, that's always nice to have, not to mention being able to attack into a Shadal that's face down. And then whenever you flip it face up through battle, you can just, activate the Chalice during damage step and be like, okay, you negated all day. because, it's always nice. And you were already playing basically a third negation card, 4 if you count the Traptrix Triple Nightmare, being Fiendish Chain, again, the Nightmare, they were also kind of effect negation cards. So having the Chalices are kind of like in the same slots for those cards as well. And overall, it's just as good, if not a little better, in certain situations. So overall, really good card is really good. Don't know if I really need to explain it any further than that. The next thing we added for the spells, we didn't really change anything in the monsters. It was mainly just spells and traps. The next thing we changed for the spells was the Soul Charge. Like I said, we dropped the 2 MSTs. I wanted to kind of have in a little bit of a easier way of getting my Armelio out of the graveyard, as well as like hands and whatnot. Soul Charge and Call the Haunted are very good at doing that. Being able to just bring this back over and over again, whether it be off of Dianea, off of Soul Charge, or your Call the Haunted, and being able to blow up back row with it is always nice. But there's also the fact that Soul Charge can bring back your hands and anything else that you may want to do, like if you want to make an overlay play or something like that. So it's just kind of that extra like monster movement card from your graveyard to your field. It's been playing pretty well for me. 1 is still good too. Playing 2 just helps you kind of get into it a little faster. But yeah, like if you find yourself wanting to put something else in over it, then I mean, like again, it comes kind of down to preference. But again, it's been playing pretty well for me. I've tested this against Shaddolls several times. It's actually played pretty well, and it's been kind of good against other decks as well. So I mean, there's that. So traps that we added, I kind of already covered Call the Haunted. I wanted another way to kind of recycle out your hands and your Armelio from the graveyard. Maybe if you have Bear in your graveyard and you want to, like if you had Wolfbark already in your graveyard as well, because you used it early in the game, you can always bring that back too, which is always nice. Hypothetical plays are hypothetical, but you get what I'm kind of going at with Call the Haunted here. I don't know if I really need to explain it any further than I already have, though. I mean, everyone knows it's a really good card. So the last thing that we added to the main deck was these. I'm still kind of testing this back and forth between the Traptrix Triple Nightmare and itself. For anyone who doesn't know what Time Space Trap Hole does, it is a normal trap hole. I'm sure that you can kind of gather that from the image, even though the image says Space Time Trap Hole, which I think was the OCG name. I don't know why the hell they decided to change it, but whatever. So like I said, for anyone that doesn't know what it does, when your opponent special summons a monster or monsters from the hand or the extra deck, you shuffle those monsters back into the deck, and then you lose 1,000 life points for each return monster. It's kind of like the losing life points thing with Soul Charge. The thing is if they pendulum summon, all of the monsters that are summoned go back to their respective decks, whether they be main or extra deck. If they should all fusion, for example, you can send the Midrash or the Window, whatever you want to call it, and the Nephilim or the Construct back into their extra deck. Anything like that. It doesn't have to be inherent. It just says whenever your opponent special summons a monster, and I believe that the ruling is actually on the wiki or whatever. I'm not sure if that's if there's actually ever been Konami saying this card works with summons that are by an effect or whatever, but yeah, it apparently works like that, so it's a really good card because of it. I remember having to look into this myself because a friend of mine was playing it, and I think my friend built some kind of weird Gishki hand artifact thing, and he was trying to figure out the ruling on it in one of his games of Dueling Network, and that's why I had to look into it, and it works like that. So having the ability to negate pendulum summons, negate fusion summons, obviously things like synchro summons and exceed summons are always nice, especially only for 1,000 life points, because most of the time you're probably only going to do it for one monster anyways. But just the fact that you can negate all the monsters that are summoned off of an opposing Soul Charge and stuff like that, kind of nice. I mean, it's really good to just kind of prevent them from making either that big push or that big play that they really want to do, or maybe they're trying to go for game, things like that. It's just good for stopping things like that. Of course, it doesn't work on things that are summoned from the main deck, but I mean, or the graveyard. But still, at the same time, if they're summoning, okay, let's go for another hypothetical here. They summon Dianea, bring back Armelio. They missed your time trap hole. Again, hypotheticals that probably aren't ever going to be likely, but we're just doing this as an example here. They're just going to go for an exceed anyway, so whatever, you're just going to take the 2 cards that they put on the field and get rid of them anyways. So I mean, it's a really good card to have, and again, in testing, it's played very beautifully for me, so it's something to just kind of try out. if you haven't already, of course. And then, like I said, the only thing that we changed in the extra deck was we dropped a Steals from Roach and we added in the Volvo chain. If you find yourself ever needing a hand, no pun intended, you can always stack it on top of your deck, whether you need fire or ice hand. If you want to get into your Myrmelio to search out something like your Time Trap Hole or your Bottomless Trap Hole, you'll be able to put that on top. If you already have one in, like a Myrmelio in your graveyard or whatever, you can stack Dianea like everyone does. Or if you have a bear in your graveyard, you can stack the Wolf Bart. So it's kind of just overall a really solid card. So I don't know if I need to explain anything else. That was all of the changes. Like I said, if you can find room in the side deck for the MSTs and the needle sealing, assuming that the fixes actually work just as well for you as they do for me. If not, then I'm sure that you can kind of rearrange things around to have the MSTs still in there. Like if you don't have access to the Time Trap Holes IRL, assuming this is an IRL build, then you can always just put the MSTs in over them, or like you can drop one of the Soul Charges and the 2 Time Trap Holes for the 2 MSTs and whatever else you want to put back in, or whatever, like the Traptrix Trapple Nightmare. That way you have the targets for Myrmelio, things like that. But yeah, the fixed builds have been playing pretty well for me, especially against the Shaddoll matchup and whatnot. Having like all the forms of destruction and negation is always just a beautiful thing. I really do like this deck. But yeah, so like I said at the very beginning of this video, if you guys have a deck that you want fixed, be sure to message it here on the No Limit YouTube channel by going to our channel page, going to the About section and clicking send message. You can type it out, or you can send it to us through a Dropbox link in the form of a YDK file for Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro or Dev Pro, and we can do things like that. So I mean, there's that. Yeah. Deck Doctor's kind of becoming like an every other week type of thing, because Robbie wants me to do deck profiles like every other week now as well. So you have more than enough time to send in decks. So yeah, I don't think there's anything else I really need to say. I hope the fixed build works for Celticsfan317 as well as anyone else that plays it. If you prefer the original build, then I hope that plays out well for everyone that decides to play it, including Celticsfan317. And yeah, so until next time, this is Team709 signing out.